Okay, this is how to use Qlab, or how I use Qlab. So first, open up Qlab, and yeah, it opens up a new project for you. And then you go to the folder where the files are that you need to be a part of your project. We keep these in a really dedicated folder that we created called Qlab because if you move the files around, then Qlab won't be able to find them anymore. So once you set up this, your Qlab file, make sure that the video and audio files that you put into this Q list stay in the same place on your computer. So I created this example folder, and then here are 3 files, all for the same piece. So you can see this is the click track, this is the playback track, and this is the video, and the 3 are all synced. So now that they're dropped in there, I select all of them, and I go to this button right here, which is group, and just click that. And now when I'm on this line right here, I can determine activities for the whole group. So I go to mode with this group selected, and there's 4 different modes, and I want this one, timeline, which is start all children simultaneously. I guess they call the files in the group children. So now, if I hit spacebar, oops, it actually started all 3 of the files at the same time. My screen went blank because it was starting the video file here. You can rename this, by the way, if you just double click on that line and then type in a title, then the whole group has a name. Okay, now the next step is you go to each individual file and tell it where to go. So for the click track, I click on that line, and then I go to audio levels, and right here is the drop down where you can determine where you want that sound to go. So this is my audio interface, so that's what I want, but I could send it just to my normal speakers or any of the other devices I have hooked up, but in this case I want it to send to my audio interface, and down here I have all the outputs of my audio interface, and it does that for you automatically, I believe. Yeah. So for instance, if my audio interface was hooked up so that it was sending outputs 3 and 4 to whatever headphones I needed to hear the click track, then that's how I would route this. This is the playback or electronic track. It's routed to outputs 1 and 2, which is what I want. 1 and 2 on my audio interface send audio out to the front of house. Back up here on my click track, 3 and 4 send audio to the headphones. So I want the click going to 3 and 4, playback going to 1 and 2, and then similarly for the video, I click on that file, and this looks different because it's a video file instead of an audio file. And to route the video file, I go to display and geometry, and your video surface or surfaces will appear here. I don't, right now as I'm doing this, I don't have an outside projector or monitor hooked up, so it's just showing my computer screen as the only option. But if I hook a HDMI cable or a VGA cable, any video cable into my computer, the computer automatically recognizes that other projector or monitor, and I can select that instead of the default. Now I'm going to go over just a couple of issues that will come up or that have come up in my using this software, just so you know about them. First one is, if your video file, this one right here, has any audio attached to it, you need to mute that. So for instance, this video file, I believe, does have audio, and if you don't mute it, then it will it'll come out the same way your audio files are coming out. So I'm on my video file, there is an audio level selector here, and I just take this, which is the master volume, and turn it all the way down. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, every projector and every monitor is different, and they can take, once you get it configured the first time, you're pretty much good to go. But if you hook a VGA or HDMI cable up to your computer and you're trying to get the video file to work and go where you want it to go, you may have to go down here. This is an important little button. It's obviously that's the little settings button, and it gives you some options. You go to video, and here is where you can set up a new surface. And the surface is what they call the thing that your video is showing up on a projector or a monitor. So if you have your video file in there and you've hooked up your video cable, your HDMI cable, and you're on display and geometry, like I said, and you click down and it doesn't show anything other than your computer's screen, go down here, click on this, go to video, and then click this button right there. And when you go to this drop down, this will recognize anything that's connected. And you can there at that point select this new screen that you've just connected. It'll show up on a new line here, and then it should work. If you are showing your video and only part of the video is showing up on your screen, this is another thing that can happen. Some screens are formatted for 1080p, which is like, YouTube or movie theaters, the sort of classic resolution that most people use now. Some computer screens are a different size. Like my MacBook Pro is not 1080p, it is a different size. So this little window right here is helpful. You usually have to zoom out a little bit. Again, don't mess with this unless it's if you see an issue. I'm just trying to predict any issues that you might have. If I wanted my MacBook to show in 1080p, then I would I would change the dimensions here. So off the top of my head, what is it, like 1920 by 1080? Yeah, so the purple bit is what your video is going to look like, and the white bit on the screen here is your the full size of your screen. So hopefully this makes sense, but if you've got a screen that is not formatted for the normal 1080p resolution size, this is where you can make it work, basically. And then one other issue that can come up is this right here. So I don't think this will be an issue, but you'll see right over here, this is the duration of each of these files. So the click and the playback are the exact same length, which is what you always want to have happen. The video file is slightly shorter. So in this case, I know because we've played this piece a ton, that the issue is just that the click and playback have extra silence at the end, and the video file stops right at the end of the piece. So because these are longer and I want them to match this duration instead, I just take this number and subtract it from this number. And actually, no, I don't even have to do that. I just go into here and go to this other, we were on audio level to select where the audio is going. Now we go to time and loops, and you can just set the end time to match the video file. So I just type in 28:63. And as you can see, the time of this playback track and the video file are now the same. Do the same thing over here, 28:63. Yeah, and now all the files are exactly the same length, and that's just going to make everything work better. Okay, it sounds a little confusing. I really feel like once you kind of get going with it, it's not so bad, but I'm here if I can help with anything else. Oh, definitely be able to save this file also. So if I was going to do this, I would click save. I would definitely save it in the same spot where all of the children are, the files that feed into this. So yeah, this is the folder that I set up for this whole situation. So I'm going to have the Qlab file in the same folder as all of the children. You can see that here. So there's my Qlab file, and here are the children or the cues that feed into that file. Okay, hope all that made sense. Thanks, and good luck.